I'm Iona and I'm back again for another Laying the Table, whether you liked it or not. This time we're delving into the world of romance and love. It is date night at the V&A and we have objects for you to fall in love with. From a 19th century profile picture to a very saucy statue, we have poisonous objects and we have tales of heartbreak and woe. And here with me for the emotional support and also for her excellent knowledge, I have my colleague, Kate, Assistant Curator of Ceramics and Glass.
Hi.
So, let's lay the table. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That felt like a cowboy, like. So, you're thinking of launching yourself on the dating scene. First things first, you need to get a solid dating app profile picture, and you could use this object here as your inspiration. This dates from 1812 and is an enamel portrait miniature of Georgiana, the Duchess of Devonshire. If you ever watched the Keira Knightley film, The Duchess, that's the lady right here. Georgiana was the it girl of her era, a fashion icon and tastemaker, much like her great niece, not sure if that's the right number of greats, Princess Diana. Now, the artist has considered her angles, her lighting, her pose and her clothing, and these are all very important things on your dating app profile. It's also bedecked in diamonds, and I myself am a bit of a diamonds girl. These are all real diamonds. The making of these miniatures was very involved, so each time a different colour was used, it had to be fired in the kiln. It's a bit like painting by numbers, but much more skillful. If you've got your eye on someone special, why not send them a love letter or even a Valentine's Day card if it's that time of year? I have a slightly cringy example of a Valentine's Day card here, which features, bizarrely, a tiny glove. It was made in 1836 and features this poem on it, which is pretty awful, to be honest with you. I'm going to read it out. It says, "If that from glove you take the letter G, then glove is love, and that I send to thee." Now, I don't know how I would feel receiving a rather substandard poem, and I also think it's slightly creepy, this miniature glove, but if you thought it was absolutely lovely, you might be willing to receive some flowers, but if you weren't sure, you could always poison them. I'm just going to bring in my glamour assistant Kate to help me move this object before I have an unboxing moment. Take it away, Kate. Lovely, thank you. Oh, there we go. Fabulously done. So, you're over the trauma of the dating scene, you've welcomed someone into your life and you're accepting flowers from them. Have you ever considered making your own flowers? Now, we may think the dating world in the 21st century is a treacherous place. But in the 19th century, it was quite literally poisonous, as this kit contains arsenic. Now, gloves. I know the saga continues and you're all very interested, but we have to wear gloves when handling this object because it does contain a harmful substance, and I will throw away these gloves after using them and wash my hands as an extra precaution. We've also laid out lots of layers of tissue paper as well to protect the table and also the object. This is an artificial flower making kit from the 1850s to early 1860s. And it was marketed at genteel ladies of leisure who could make little bouquets to tempt their beau or give to their loved ones or families and friends. This kit is amazingly detailed. There's individual compartments for all the tools you need to make the flowers, from these special wooden tools which would roll and crimp the flowers, to stems to twist the petals around. We also have a beautiful ready-made flower here, which is absolutely delightful. The detail is astonishing. There's this moss as well, which is just so vibrant, as well as lots of leaves and ready cut petals which are painted. These look like daisies to me, although I'm not a horticultural expert. And there's also little packets of some petals that the owner of this kit has started on and then have just tucked them away in these lovely little envelopes. But what lies beneath this seemingly innocent object is a dark tale. Women working in these factories were dusting powder containing copper and arsenic onto the leaves. They were inhaling the stuff. It was getting under their fingernails, all to create this vibrant green colour. And in the 1860s, the British public were absolutely horrified by the death of a young flower maker. The whites of her eyes turned green, and she was throwing up green water. We have to acknowledge that in Victorian times there was little in the way of workers' rights, and sadly many people died in the process of their work. Eventually a safer version of the green pigment was created without the need for arsenic. I'm going to pack this object away in order to make way for Kate, who's going to bring in a very fragile glass.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm just going to go and get something very fragile. Maybe essential on a date night. Something a little stronger to help with the nerves, a little Dutch courage, if you will. And you could do worse than this beautiful Dutch 18th century wine glass. It tells the story of David and Jonathan. They were really, really strong, firm friends. Their story comes from the Old Testament in the Bible. The king became jealous of their friendship and exiled David from the court. When they were separated, they kissed one another and they wept together. Such was their bond of friendship. In later centuries, this story became a way of signalling same-sex love and same-sex desire in times and contexts when that was forbidden and even illegal, and when the penalty could be as harsh as death. That's certainly the case in 18th century Netherlands when this cup was made and used. There are signs on this cup that something is being signalled more than just strong friendship between these two men. You can see their really tight embrace and how their faces are almost touching as they kind of stare into each other's eyes. But down the bottom you might see that their feet are also touching. One treads on the other's foot. And this was a commonly recognised signal for romantic or sexual desire. Now, ostensibly, this is a glass for toasting to friendship, and the story is one of friendship. But for those in the know, it would have signalled much, much more. I'm just going to pop this object away as it's incredibly fragile and come back with something a little bit more explicit. We don't need this either. It's worth the wait, I promise. From a covert sexual invitation to something rather more in your face. I think not every date goes as well as this one, but these two have obviously really hit it off. This is one of my favourite objects in the collection. It's by a Danish artist called Louise Hinskavel, and she's a contemporary artist. This was made in 2006. Louise goes beneath the surface. She looks at our more bestial subconscious instincts and puts them into porcelain. She's inspired by 18th century white porcelain figure groups, but giving them a contemporary twist. She seems to be subverting gender norms as well in this piece. As you can see, the male figure has this tiny little lamb's head, whereas the female figure has a kind of shark-wolf hybrid for a head, which is quite disturbing. Something else I spotted, apart from sort of glorious bottoms that we've got on display, is the legs. They appear to resemble or to be heavily inspired by some well-known children's toys. These are Barbie feet, if ever I saw them. And these look to me a bit like He-Man legs. They're actually hinged at the back, or they look like they've been modelled on a hinged pair of legs. I actually Googled Ken legs and Action Man legs, trying to find the most similar ones, and He-Man was the closest fit. I think personally these two maybe need to get a room. I can only hope your date night is going as well as it is here. I'm just going to move this slightly to one side and hand over to Iona.
A type of love that is often neglected is self-love, and sometimes it's important to treat yourself to a gift to remember how fabulous you are. And the perfect present to yourself would be this gorgeous ring. It was designed by Solange Azuguri Partridge, and it was made in 2007. And it takes the form of a kissable mouth coated in the perfect lipstick in this vibrant red hue. It's made of silver coated in enamel, and there's a real playfulness, I think, to it. And I think anyone wearing it would be imbued with a real sense of confidence. I myself would love to own this ring. The most timeless ring of all is probably the wedding ring, and we have an example here. This is a gold posy ring which dates from the early 1600s, and the word posy comes from poetry because these type of rings were engraved with short romantic mottos inside. I personally don't think it's very romantic because it says keep faith till death, which is very bleak, but it probably refers to the wedding vow till death do us part. For those who couldn't come up with their own romantic mottos in their posy rings, there was a fabulously titled compendium called The Mysteries of Love and the Arts of Wooing, published in 1658, which sounds like an absolutely cracking read. We wear wedding rings on the forefinger of our hand. Supposedly some Roman writers said that there is a vein from your forefinger connecting it to your heart, and it's called love's vein. I did ask my partner, who is a doctor, if this is scientifically correct, but he actually never replied to my message, so Kate had to Google it for me, and it turns out it's utter rubbish. It's important to keep in the good books of your partner and remember special anniversaries, so why not buy them a fancy gift while you're at it? We have here a snuffbox which dates from around 1750. And in the 18th century, small accessories like these made the perfect gifts for loved ones and were often commissioned to commemorate marriages. In the case of this snuffbox, it actually opens to reveal the portrait of a married couple. So you have Karl Theodor and his wife Elizabeth August, who were members of the Bavarian royal family. And this snuffbox contains snuff, which is a ground up form of tobacco. It became really popular in England in the 1660s, around the time of the Great Plague, and people thought that it had antiseptic properties, which is slightly mad. The taking and offering of snuff was very coded. We do know of one example of a man who pretended to flick traces of snuff from his jacket in a way to ask a lady to a ball, which sounds very long-winded. I don't know why he didn't just ask her. There's something quite intimate about snuff. People would keep snuff boxes very close to their bodies, for men in pockets in their breeches or their waistcoat, and for ladies in pockets tied around their waists, and it was accessed through openings in their gown. But it would make a rather lovely anniversary gift, I think. The giving of jewellery is also a common thing around anniversaries, and we have here a very delicate gold locket pendant. It is absolutely tiny, but it's just the most gorgeous thing. I mean, I would love to receive this as a present. The locket is almost like the message, you know, the key to my heart. It takes the form of a heart and there's a little key in it. When you turn the key, it reveals a secret compartment that contains hair. Seems a bit gross now, but back in the day, in the 19th century, this is a very common form of love token, and hair was also used in mourning jewellery to remember a departed family member or loved one. Unfortunately, we won't open the locket just because it's very fragile, so we won't be able to see the hair, but we have lots of other hair in our collection that you can enjoy. There is a special secret love message in this locket. If you take the initial letters of all the gemstones at the front here, it spells the word regard, because there is a ruby, an emerald, a garnet, an amethyst, a ruby, and a diamond, and I hope I remembered that correctly. Also, if you turn the locket over, there is a forget-me-not flower picked out in turquoise stones, and in the language of flowers, forget-me-nots represent true love, and turquoises are often used to represent love and loyalty. So it's a very sweet object and there's lots of messages there. I think the person who gifted it really cared very deeply about the person who wore this pendant. There might come a time where you've lost the spark in your marriage and things have taken a turn for the worse, so I think it's a good time for me to reintroduce Kate.
Thanks, Iona. So this mug communicates an age-old joke. On this side, as you can see, two smiling faces. They're dating, they're courting, they're full of the joys of spring. But as the little poem underneath tells us, things are not to last. This mug was weighed around 1800 and it takes from the print sources of the day, satirical illustrations and caricatures and pamphlets and posters. I'll read the poem to you. When two fond fools together meet, each look gives joy, each kiss so sweet. But wed, how cold and cross they'll be. Turn upside down and then you'll see. If we turn our mug upside down, the two happy faces grow sour and grumpy, illustrating what it's like to be married for a very long time. Unfortunately, not all love stories have a happy ending. Do they, Iona?
No, they do not, Kate. And can I just say thank you so much for your fabulous contribution today. A round of applause for Kate. Absolutely lovely. And now for a tale of woe, we move on to this pewter beaker. It was engraved in 1763 by Friedrich Baron von der Trenck, who was from Prussia. Now, Friedrich fell in love with the wrong person, and that was Princess Amalie, who was Frederick the Great of Prussia's sister. It's very confusing because everyone seems to be called Frederick. He was eventually arrested as a spy and thrown into a fortress, the Baron, but he managed to escape and fled to Russia. After a few years, he returned to Prussia and was captured again and thrown into jail at a place called Magdeburg. And there he spent nearly 10 years engraving many beakers like this, and they are filled with inscriptions and illustrations telling his life story. The most poignant image of all is this engraving of the Baron in chains offering a love heart to a lady. And these are not the metaphorical bonds of love, these are actual chains. Because he was known to be a bit of an escape artist, they had to chain him to the wall of his cell. He met his sticky end in 1794. After being accused of being an Austrian spy, he was sent to the guillotine. And it just goes to show that not all love stories end well. It's been an emotional roller coaster here today. We've covered all aspects of love, from first love to marriage and also the ultimate end of death. I think my favourite object today is the gold locket. There's a lovely sentiment behind it and it's just a really beautiful piece. Kate, what's your favourite object?
Oh, thanks for asking, Iona. I think it's probably the David and Jonathan glass. I like thinking about the mystery of who could have owned it.
Great choice, Kate. Tell us what your favourite object is from the selection in the comments below. And remember that I'm just a girl standing in front of a camera asking you to like and subscribe. Whether you are happy in love, still on the hunt, or just confident to be an independent person who doesn't need anyone, remember, nobody puts baby in the corner and you are always enough. Consider your angles, consider your lighting, and also strike a pose that doesn't look too posy, that you love yourself, but also that you are an intellectual person. Yeah, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Maybe it's because I'm slight, no, I have my banana, yeah. Oh my God. Goodbye, miniature, I'm glad to see the back of that guy. Okay.
It feels like one of them's just come in the door, they're ready for date night, she's flung herself into her partner's arms, and he's more than willing to receive her. These two need to get a room, was what I was thinking about. Oh crap, I forgot the... Why am I just avoiding it all the time?
Fuck, Kate. I don't know why we were both like looking at each other weirdly.